going in to serve as an MC for all of the other great hearts that we have here today. And I would like to start by welcoming up our grammarian to give us the word of the day.
I'll be serving as your grammarian today, introducing the word of the day, counting the number of times we use the word of the day, and also counting transitional phrases like on, and so. The word of the day is liminal. Liminal is an adjective that means of, relating to, or being an intermediate state, phase, or condition. For example, the liminal zone between wake and sleep, or the Texas-Mexico border region is a liminal zone where one culture blends into another.
Would it be fair to say I'm serving as in a liminal role, going in between all of these different important sections? All right, and now if I could welcome up our timer, Tanya, to explain how timing works in Toastmasters and give us a
Thank you. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I am your timer for today, and I will keep you all on time during your speeches. For the speakers who are speaking today, when you have 2 minutes left to speak, you'll see the green light. When you have 1 minute left to speak, you'll see the yellow light and the yellow card. And when you have completed the maximum time, you'll get the red card. But it's kind of a fib because you really get 30 seconds after the red card before you're disqualified in contest. So the red card is kind of a reminder to wrap it up within 30 seconds, but to keep your composure and stay cool. That way in a competition you won't blow it. But if you go over the 30 seconds, you're going to get the boom, and that means you know you would have been disqualified. Okay? For table topics, you will get the green card at 1 minute, which means you have satisfactorily met your commitment to a table topic. At 1.5 minutes, you get the yellow card, and at 2 minutes, you'll get the red, and still you get 30 seconds after the red comes up to complete successful table topics. And for evaluations, at 2 minutes, you'll get the green card. At 2.5 minutes, the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, the red card. And again, just like everyone else, you get 30 seconds to go over so that you could still win the competition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I have to thank Tanya for her energy and enthusiasm in both filling the role of the timer and explaining with such enthusiasm, but also this is simply a liminal moment before she will be serving us again with a speech titled Attitude of Gratitude, the length of which she has requested 5 to 7 minutes, and the project book Storytelling from the Storytelling Project book.
It's 6 to 8.
Everyone, please help me welcome Tanya with Attitude of Gratitude.
Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters, what is an attitude of gratitude? I wonder if you ever thought about that. Have you seen the signs? I think many people work here at Mayo Clinic or have walked through the halls and seen these signs that say 12 habits of healthy people. Or you may have seen on the internet, 12 habits of highly successful people. One of those habits is to have an attitude of gratitude. I'm going to tell you a story about a little girl that learned about the attitude of gratitude. There once was a little girl who grew up in northern Minnesota in a little nowhere called Cedar, C-E-D-A-R, and they lived on a rural route road. So the address was Rural Route 6 on, that was it, Rural Route 6, Cedar, Minnesota. She spent her days happily prancing about the backyard with her neighbor boys, the Protus boys. There were 4 of them. Jimmy, Johnny, Bernie, and Michael. And they had so much fun playing football. Tanya loved playing football. Oh, the girl was me. Tanya loved playing football with the boys because you could use all your energy, you could wrestle. They were heavyweight wrestlers in high school, and they would all pounce on top, and she'd be underneath, and then get a bloody nose and love it, every minute of it. So she had a very fun time in her childhood. When she became 10 years old, her parents told her it was time to start confirmation classes. Pretty soon it would be time to start confirmation classes. Well, Tanya had gone to church since she was baptized, and a little old Swedish Lutheran church. It was a white building, just like you see in those Thomas Kincaid paintings or Norman Rockwell paintings, where it only has like 4 pews and a big baptismal font, and the pastor stands up into some big tall lectern thingy talking down to the crowd, and there's no air conditioning. There's stained glass here and here, and there's a big steeple on top, and then outside is all the cemeteries with all the headstones that are like this tall. Johnson family, Swanson family, Peterson family, it's all Swedes. It's all sons. Or Soderquists, there's some quists too. So Tanya thought to herself, well, I don't know if I want to be confirmed, because I don't know if I want to be hanging out with this group of people. What is it all about? So I will stop talking about myself in the third person. So what I did was I took the Bible that I had from 2nd grade or 5th grade. 5th grade you get a Bible and you get to do First Communion. So I did that, and so I sat down in my bedroom and shut the door and sat at the floor with my back against the door because I didn't want my annoying brother to come in and pester me while I'm reading the Bible. Because I thought if I read the book, then I would figure out what these people were up to and if I was going to join their club or not. That's how I thought of it. I was also in 4-H. So I thought, well, if I'm going to join another club, I don't want to do it just because my mom and dad say so. I'm going to join this club because it's cool or something. If any of you have read a Bible that is a Bible or a book that is 2,000 years old and written with some fancy language, you will know that a 10-year-old from northern Minnesota doesn't understand a lot of those fancy words. I still sat there and read over them, and what I did, what I think lots of people do, is any word I didn't understand, I went, okay, skip that. Okay, skip that. Or maybe they'll come up later and I'll understand it in context. The first chapter was Genesis, the second chapter was Exodus. It's pretty cool, but I remember thinking, well, I don't know. First it says God built the planet in 7 days. And then it says, but days to God are not like days to you, they could be forever. So then I thought, okay, well that kind of makes sense, so then there could still be dinosaurs and stuff, because one day could have been the whole dinosaur era, another day could have been something else. So here I'm trying to teach myself to understand how this works. When I get to the end of the Bible, it's a whole year and a half later, and I'm almost 12. And I got all the way to Revelations, and I went, ew, this is scary, and I skipped that part. And I considered that enough. I kind of just went over it, because I didn't understand dragons and fire and weird things like that. I didn't understand that. And it didn't make sense, because the whole thing went normal, and then wacko, and I didn't understand that. So I still really ignore that part, because I don't get it. But that's just who I am. But the reason I wanted to tell you this story is because how did I learn an attitude of gratitude? When it was time to get confirmed, I had to memorize a Bible verse. And I chose the one from Philippians, chapter 4, verse 4 through 7. And it says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again will I say rejoice. Have no fear or anxiety about anything, but with in all matters, with prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And the peace of Christ, which passes all understanding, will keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And I really like that paragraph because at the benediction at the end of the service, the pastor would say something similar, so it gave me a sense of calm and peace, and it reminded me to have an attitude of gratitude, but I didn't know it was called that, but it says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, shall I say rejoice? So it says rejoice, or be grateful, always. So in this day and age, I have a lot to be grateful for, and I have a lot to be sad about. My husband is going through 12 things of chemo, 12 stages of chemo, 12 somethings of chemo, and we found out that it's not optional. He was kind of hoping, since the symptoms were getting gross, that he could kind of say, isn't this enough? Because it was just kind of, you're just doing this prophylactically, and I couldn't really get cancer again. And she said, no, it's not optional. So he's kind of sad about that, because now he knows that even if he finishes it all, there's still a risk that something bad could happen. My husband's father is in Italy, and he almost died twice in the last 2 months because something exploded inside his gut, and he had the polluted gut where your bowel movements are inside your body, and so it was really hard to save him, and he lost lots of weight, and he also has cancer like Fabio, And so it was very dangerous, but he made it out. And with those two examples of conflict, and I have many more to share, but I won't say them all because that will confuse the story. That we're trying to have an attitude of gratitude. Remember to rejoice in the Lord always. Again, will I say rejoice? So we rejoice that he's home again and he could be healthy. We rejoice that Fabio, we live and work near the Mayo Clinic, and the treatment that he's getting is absolutely the treatment to have the best outcome after cancer surgery. I rejoice that my mom is able to afford to fly to North Carolina to visit my little brother who's in a federal medical center because he is a paranoid schizophrenic or has paranoid schizophrenia. She's going this weekend. And I rejoice that I have a 12-year-old girl who is the bomb. She's awesome. I rejoice that my mom lives with me and she blesses my family with her love. I rejoice that I have all these friends here at Toastmasters and all over town who are wishing me happy 52nd birthday today. And I would like to leave you with something regarding this phrase in Philippians. And so even if you don't want to read the Bible, you don't have to. I'm just telling you how it gave me my sense of peace and attitude of gratitude. After chapter 4, verses 4 through 7, there's a chapter 8. And I really like this part, and I didn't include it probably because when I was 13 or 14, it seemed like too many words to remember. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
Thank you, Tanya, for reminding us about the attitude of gratitude and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
If we could now have 1 minute for evaluation. Our next speaker, John, will be presenting The Terrible Day. And he has requested 4 to 6 minutes. John, The Terrible Day.
I think the liminal topic for today is on attitudes. This is somewhere a liminal speech between the speech and just the rough draft. So I'm going to need notes. And might come back again next speech and then the new version. Let me describe to you one of those days. It was very terrible. It was a terrible day at work. So just to relax, went over to a friend's house and washed my car and kind of get away from everything. So I washed all the car, had the music going on in the car, the windows down, and worked for about an hour and dried it all off. I even waxed it, and then I realized, tried the car door. The car is locked. The car is running with the radio on. So, a friend drove me back to my house, got an extra set of keys, and opened the door. Guess what? Missed one thing. When I said the music was on, and it rolled down the windows. The windows were wide open. The whole time. then he decided to go shopping. It was one of those days where you just kind of wander the store. Oh yeah, I need this from over here, and throw it in the cart, and you walk over here and look around and say, oh yeah, I need some pens too, so grab the pens, and the cart was full, and we had gone to look at something when we came towards closing time and had the cart full of stuff. And when we came back and the cart was gone. Where's our cart? I thought I left it over here, didn't I? So we look over this aisle. Is it there? No, okay. They had thought we had left the cart. So they started putting everything away. So that was sort of my terrible, horrible, no good, very bad. And the last few days I've been reading John Maxwell's book on attitudes for about the 10th time at least. And every time I read it, you get something else out of it. So today I thought I'd talk about how do we evaluate our attitudes? What, with that bad day, am I going to let it ruin my day and the next day? Or what am I going to do? He talked about identifying the problem feelings. Am I going to be mad and frustrated, or what am I going to do? Identify the problem behavior and identify the problem thinking is, am I thinking somebody's out to get me because they put my cart away? No, they thought it was somebody just left it there. And you got to make a commitment to change. And then how am I going to plan to take care of those changes? Another important part is when you have that bad attitude, because no one's perfect, at least I'm not, because I'm not going to have the good attitude all the time. So how do I keep that falling forward or moving forward? In the book you mentioned about rejecting rejection. It's not, if somebody doesn't like you or doesn't respond to you the way, blow it off. They might be having a bad day, who knows? And see any failure as temporary. How many times did Edison make a mistake inventing the light bulb? How many times was Abe Lincoln not elected? And Charles Schultz was denied by how many publishers? You gotta just keep on trying. You gotta see that failure as, at least I know it wasn't that, or an isolated incident. And keep your expectations realistic. I'm not going to become king of the world, but I might keep setting goals and trying to achieve them. And focus on what my strengths are. What can I do? What are the things I enjoy? And if one method doesn't work to get a better attitude, try something else. It's just bouncing back once over, again and again. So for you, when you have your next terrible, horrible, very bad day, as Alexander did, remember, fall forward and keep back to that.
Thank you, John, for that reminder of handling our bad days. If we could get a minute for evaluating this week. Before we proceed to our next section, I do want to give a special thank you to both of our speakers today, Tanya and John. They stepped in last minute to fill in on roles, and it was great that they were able to share what they were with us today. our topic master is in a similar situation where she, as the pro that she is going to step up with some extra table topics. So we have extra opportunities for extemporaneous speaking and self-improvement. Please help me welcome our table topic master, Amy.
Oh, I've got some good doozies for you. Actually, I think they're pretty easy. I'll ask the question first, and of course this is the extemporaneous portion of our meeting, so you'll have a couple of moments to ponder the question, and I'll ask for volunteers, and if we don't get any volunteers, then I'll call on someone, and I'll apologize up front if you have a role. I'm still going to ask you to come up and do it, so no denying the topic master today. Well, as I've been listening to our speaker, which I've read all of the way through, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, Noble, Very Bad Day, and the Bible, which I have tried, but I got stuck on the son of the son of the son of the part, and I just skipped ahead to the Gospels and called it good. What I want to know is if you have a good book, or what type of books you like to read. Do you like mysteries? Do you like to read sort of self-help, motivation types of books? I'd like to hear about a good book. Any volunteers? Come on.
Read any good books lately? I am a voracious reader. It started when I was very, very young, and I read the complete Little House series, and then I moved on to the complete Wizard of Oz series, which happens to be my favorite children's set, the white edition. It had the best illustrations in that one. Today, I still have a very eclectic reading, whatever you would call it, but the most recent book I'm reading is called The White Queen. It is a historical reenactment, if you will, of what Queen Elizabeth I, her background and her marriage to King Edward, and how he had dethroned Henry V, I think it was. So it's, if you've heard of the War of the Roses, this is the complete family history of how that whole part of history happened. What's so fascinating to me now as an adult, as children we think queens and kings are just beautiful people and they don't have any troubles in the world because they're rich. It was really quite deadly to be a king or a queen. People after you all the time and wanting to discredit you or remove you from the throne so that they could get the property and the riches and the wives, and being a queen was not an easy task, because if you didn't bear sons, you were gone. So anyway, my current reading today is historical fiction of the Elizabethan era.
Second topic. I was in Madison, Wisconsin this last weekend, and actually outside of Madison, I think in Spring Green, they have an outdoor theater. And I went to see Pride and Prejudice, which I have a unhealthy obsession for. I've seen it in all of its formats and read the book many, many times. Anyway, it was fantastic. I haven't been to a play in ages, and it was wonderful. It was outside, under the stars. Yes, mosquitoes, but there were also bats. The mosquitoes, so positive. I would like to know about maybe a play or a special story that you like, or something you've seen in the theater that you might want to share with us. Volunteer? Leslie, you got this.
Oh, theater. It's many forms. The past 2 weeks I spent teaching theater. The first week was to a group of 7 to 9-year-olds, and we did the show Too Many Wolves, which was written by the education director at the Rochester Civic Theater. And working with 7 to 9-year-olds on creating a play and directing them in it, one gets to do a lot of, okay, the audience really, they can't see you. They want to see your face. You really have a beautiful face. Could you turn out just a little bit? Okay, Johnny, if you know what, I think you need to show him where the pig's house is So could you grab him by his right shoulder and walk him over? Oh, good job, Johnny. Thank you. Yeah, we need for him to get walked over. And that's how I ended up creatively getting children turned around and facing the audience. And they brought such an energy, and they were such a delight to work with each day. And the little dramas that unfolded that had nothing to do with the play were fascinating to watch. Some of my Facebook friends know that one morning this little girl came in, and I made the comment, "Oh, your t-shirt matches Jake's. That's kind of cute. You both have the same shade of blue." She looked up at me. "I love him." I went, "Oh, you do?" And then at lunch, during our lunch break, I noticed that Jake was sitting next to her, and I was like, "Ooh, this girl has some skill." I didn't think Jake was aware. And then, a day later, Jake has his arm around her while I'm giving notes, 7 to 9-year-olds. And he is saying, you know, when she's being Rapunzel, she needs something to stand on, Melissa. Jake, I know we're going to get that in our dress rehearsal. I think she needs to practice with it now. And I'm like, wow, Jake, impressive. And then this past week, I dealt with 14-year-olds, 4 of them, great, dedicated, wonderful kids. And they had this improv section to do. It was all entirely up to them. And my 2 girls were obsessed with horror. And I had to give the actual note to one of, you know, really, it's not very plausible that you want to be on the first date when you lead with child sacrifice and how it's an important part of your religious practice. Now, I've gone well over my time. Thank you, Madam.
Birthdays. Happy birthday, Tanya. You're welcome. I have a birthday next week, so it's hot on my mind. I've already put in my wish list of what I would like to have, and in my house we have the tradition where we get to pick all of the meals for a weekend. It's sort of your special weekend. So it's not this weekend, but next weekend will be my birthday weekend, where we pretty much do whatever we want. I get to be the dictator at the family for a whole weekend, which is going to be fantastic. I want to know what you do for your birthdays. What do you do for a birthday celebration at your house, or maybe what you wish you could do? Chris?
For me, birthdays marks a great accomplishment in my background. With regards to my wife, it means I'm able to pull one over on her. I tell everybody, and this is the truth, she is the best human BS detector that I know. She grew up with a mentally handicapped sister, and she is excellent at reading and anticipating what another person is going to do. I don't remember if it was the first or second birthday. I want to say it had to have been, I think, our first birthday after we got married. And it was her 30th. And I said, well, this is a special day. We are going to go out. We went to, I don't even remember, it's just the Purple Room or something over in Waseca. For a special thing, it was something, and when we walked inside, it was something through the dark ages. Just dated, and the food was okay. And we were taking our time, and all of a sudden I looked at the clock, oh, wait, we gotta go. And in spite of me having fun and all of a sudden panicking, she still did not suspect. Once I got her in the vehicle and on our way, I said, okay, this is something you've always wanted. So I used her wish list. Kind of against her. She had been wanting this fancy piece of some fancy antique furniture piece. And I said, well, I have a surprise for you. She's like, oh, okay. So in spite of having a tendency for motion sickness, I convinced her to put on a blindfold. Right before we pulled up to the Waseca VFW. And I let her out of the vehicle. People are looking at me funny because I had organized this convention hall in the back of the VFW. And she's smelling smoke, and she's hearing all of this noise and smelling stale beer. She's like, "Where are we?" I'm like, "Well, you know, it's Waseca. You know, they have antique places and the funniest locations." And finally, we get back there, and I go, and everyone goes, "Happy birthday!" And she takes off the thing, and she was so mad. She was, "Where's my antiques?"
Very nice, very nice. I was shopping at Target, 6 months ago or so, maybe been a little bit more than that. And I too had a cart full of groceries. And I went through the checkout lane and I gave him my card and it was declined. Okay, well I have a credit card, let me give you that. And I gave him my credit card and it was declined. And I'm not the kind of person who has a lot of cards. Those are my two. And I've got no cash. I never carry cash. And I stood there like, now what do I do? Maybe another speech for another day. It was my terrible, horrible, no good, very, very bad day. I want to hear about one of yours. Where has an experience like that was really uncomfortable? Did you ever break down and get stuck along I-90 on the road and had to change a tire? Do you have a very bad, no good, horrible, very bad day that you want to share? John. John.
I'll make up one for Amy. As I talked in one of my previous speeches, I was in Trumbull Beautiful, and I played the bass people. We were in horrified Wisconsin, Horicon, Wisconsin. The mosquitoes that night came in swarms, I mean, you saw them, it looked like a flock of birds coming in. It was warm and muggy that night. And as I've told before, we had full-length shirts, vests, lined tuxedo jackets, black pants. You sweated just looking at the things. And we practiced, we did warm-up and everything. It wasn't, we did a 15-minute show and we're done. Well, that year, in the second song, we played Tuxedo Junction by, variation of Tuxedo Junction by Glenn Miller. And played bass bugle. And we had a soprano accompaniment that accompanied our solo. There were 6 contrabasses. Well, actually, it's the other way around. It was the soprano, the trumpet was doing it. So we got down on the 50-yard line, or I was like on the 47, on the front sideline, kneeling like this. And the crowd is like when Melissa is. They were right there. And we were really into it. And leaning back and pointing. And I have to be careful here. Because I was leaning way back. And I felt completely front or back to front. And you know what happened next? This is the front sideline now. We got up and turned around. And there were split tails in the back. I had to walk away. The whole rest of the 10 minutes I was within 10 yards of the front sideline on the 50-yard line. Horicon will always be horrified to me.
One of the best parts about coming to Toastmasters is hearing these crazy stories that you could never imagine or make up. And people have these hobbies that you think, how did they ever get started with bread making of all things, or flute carving, or there's so many things that you learn about your fellow human beings in a Toastmasters meeting. It's not why I joined Toastmasters, it's just sort of a nice bonus. I want to know why you joined Toastmasters. What are your goals currently in Toastmasters? Anybody want to come and talk about that? Maybe some of our newer members?
Are you looking at me?
I am. When
when I think of goals for Toastmasters, one of the things I think about is being able to speak eloquently and communicate clearly with people. And I actually found myself this morning trying to summon some of these things that I've been watching and learning and thinking about as I've thought about Toastmasters. The use of the hmms and the ums. I find myself doing that a lot, and I think it's one thing to do it when you have a prepared speech or certain speaking points you're helping to deliver. You might be able to eliminate it then because you're practiced, you're very conscientious and focused on it. But today I was having a conversation with some people from outside of Mayo Clinic talking about some goals of a project, and I was just saying things that were coming to mind, and they were asking various questions, and I kept listening to myself, and I kept saying, as I was trying to kind of process and think about that. So that one is very front of mind for me right now, and one of the things that I hope I can get out of Toastmasters is how to eliminate that from my communication, because I think it will help me have greater impact in my communications.
Nice. Oh, you got the green. You got the green. I was so engaged, I forgot, but you got the green.
Okay.
All right, I've got one more. I can come up with more on the fly, but we'll see. My family and I went on a summer vacation. So I was gone last week. We were in Chicago, and we had a fantastic time. This was the first time I've taken our now 8-year-old on vacation. This was the first time all 4 of us together. We had so much fun. So, a question for you, and again, I'll take a volunteer. Tell me about a summer vacation or a vacation that you had, whether it was family or on your own. Tell me about your travels, your trips. Come on, yep, hands up. It's too good, you just couldn't stand it.
No, so I have a funny story about family vacations. I don't know if 2.5 minutes is going to be enough time. So my husband has a daughter, older, who lives in Houston, Texas, and she has a significant other. And the 2 of them came to visit maybe 5-6 years ago for a summer vacation with us, the first we've ever done as a nuclear family together. And what we had chosen to do was to rent a houseboat in Voyageurs National Park, which is way up at the Canadian border. In fact, the road that goes to this resort where we rented the boat is the end of Minnesota, so you can't drive any farther. You have to boat across to get to Canada. It was an amazing adventure that we were about to take, and my husband has a sister who lives in Duluth, so our great idea was that we would rent a hotel for the first night, and we would meet them for dinner and have a wonderful start to our vacation. I had a little Dachshund at the time, maybe a year old, and we had never left him alone before. So I shut him in the hotel so we could go to dinner, and when we came back, we found that the carpet to the bedroom door, it was a suite, had been entirely ripped up in this brand new Sheraton hotel. The bedding, which was a luxurious down comforter, and all the perfect Egyptian linens, was peed on. Oh. And also pulled off the bed. Oh, no. And so we had to check out the next morning by telling the manager, oh, by the way, our little dachshund ruined your nice new hotel room. Thankfully, there was leftover carpet, and they just replaced it, and we weren't even charged for it. Wow. You can imagine, I was thinking, oh my God, we don't have the money to do this. What are we going to do? And we were so lucky, and I did have an attitude of gratitude at the end of that hotel visit. Wow.
I think we're good. Thank you all very much. That was fantastic.
Thank you for your many contributions to table topics today. I will now welcome Elizabeth on up so she can lead one of the most, well, arguably the most important part of our meeting, the evaluations, and helping us get better at what we do.
Madam Toastmaster, may we it's so spiritual. So fellow Toastmasters, here's the most important portion of our meeting, the evaluations. With that, I would like to welcome Sarah, who will be evaluating Tanya.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, Madam Toastmaster, thank you, my role straightened, fellow Toastmasters and no guests today, and especially Tanya for your fantastic speech. As always, I always enjoy hearing your speeches, and this one was really great. It was called Attitude of Gratitude, which we were just reminded of, and your journey on how you arrived at that attitude from a very young age. And when I asked you ahead of time if there's anything you wanted me to look for, you said, make sure I don't say any ums, and I didn't hear any ums. I was really into the speech though, so if I missed one, I missed one. I really don't think you said any, and I think you did a good job. You weren't super fast. I think your pace was really good, and I think that all kind of came together well. Now this was from the storytelling manual, and these are a little bit different than the competent communicator manual ones in terms of the evaluation. So I'll just kind of go through the evaluation form, give an idea of what the goals were. And so for this project, Tanya was to prepare an original story designed to evoke emotion among the listeners using description and dialogue. The first point on the evaluation is which emotions did I experience as Tanya told her story, and how did she use descriptive words and phrases to evoke emotion. And I think the first thing I felt was nostalgia, a lot of nostalgia when you were describing your childhood, playing with your friends and getting piled on by the boys with the bloody nose, and how that was even fun, and when you were describing the small church, and you were very descriptive in that, and it reminded me of my grandparents' church. It was a tiny little German church in the middle of nowhere in Iowa. Are you Lutheran? Okay, that's kind of what I figured. They were Lutheran too, so it just made me think of that, and so I felt very nostalgic hearing that. And hearing your thoughts about confirmation and approaching confirmation, and I was kind of surprised that you had such a wonder feeling about that at that young age, because I think a lot of kids when they're 10 years old, your parents say you're going to go to confirmation or CC or whatever it is you go to, you probably just do it without really questioning it and questioning, do I want to join that club or not? So I thought that was really cool. And how did the speaker use dialogue to evoke emotion? I think most of the dialogue in your story was really with yourself. Do I really want to join this club? And you would ask yourself questions as you're reading through the Bible. I don't understand that, I'm just going to keep going. So I think a lot of the dialogue was with yourself. And the emotion that evoked in me was one of wonder, just because you were wondering about things. You were wondering about what was in the Bible. Do I really want to join this group or not? And I sense that's what you were feeling at that time too. Did the story contain the basic elements of setting, characters, plot, conflict, and action? And I think you covered all of those really well in your speech. The setting was really one of the childhood memories, and the characters, I think the main character is really yourself, and then some extras, the kids in your childhood. And the plot was really your journey on approaching that attitude of gratitude, and how you came up onto your favorite verse for your confirmation class. And I think that's a really good verse, and one that I really liked too, and so I really appreciated that. And it kind of brought it all full circle. And one thing, I know I'm almost out of time here, one thing in terms of, I think, of an improvement is the attitude of gratitude was your title, and it would be nice to hear more tie into that from your earlier part of your speech when you're tying it into your younger days. But hearing you bring that together with all the difficulties that are going on in your life and your family's life, it was good, I think, for everybody to hear how even when there's horrible things going on, you can still think about what are the good things in my life that I can focus on. So thanks for your speech.
Thank you.
Before I continue with the evaluation process, I must say that I am in a liminal stage in my life. And that will be the topic of my next speech.
Ooh. It's called a teaser, isn't it? That's a teaser for your next speech. Ooh.
Yes. And now please help me welcome Chris, who will be providing his evaluation to John.
you, Madam General Evaluator, Toastmasters, and especially John. I have to say that I've stated before that I really enjoy being in this club because what keeps it interesting is the liminal state between chaos and efficiency that we often display when we work together to make sure that the meeting will go on. And also the coincidences never cease to amaze me, where two last-minute speeches, they both focus on gratitude. And I have to say that when I saw the title of your speech, I had to laugh because the story that I had mentioned, if needed to be said, if there's a speaker needed, I was going to try and retell from memory my lucky day. So, John, you had said that this is kind of a rough draft for a future speech. So you are technically going to be giving this one again, correct? With that being said, I think I would maybe give, instead of saying what you could have done different, let's say, I will offer you what I would like to see more of when it comes to that. Your opening. You have a gift with your speech openings. You lead us up with something that happens to everybody, and you're like, okay, we've all done that. We've all locked our keys in the car. And wish we had a little magnet on the outside. Luckily, you had your cell phone in your pocket, I'm assuming. You were able to call your friend. The punchline, I loved it, that the windows are open. I'm sure there's a blonde joke in there somewhere. And in the shopping cart, you had some very great examples of you worked so hard to do what you needed to be done. These things, they just don't do themselves. But the world, the stars are just aligned. They just do not let you succeed. And your attitude of gratitude, I think, would have, so that's the bad thing. How did your attitude of gratitude help you accept and learn and move on from those scenarios? I know some people who, when those things happen to them, they live to tell everybody about it. But they don't offer any solutions for how it made them, or examples of how it made them better. We all, a diamond in the rough, need some equally hard tools to shape you into a better gemstone, so to speak. Your delivery, of course, was very impromptu, but it was still pretty good in spite of your notes. I thought when you do your speech, your final version, maybe tie in how you reacted to the content of the book that you have spent so much time reading. So you can tie in how you are applying those principles when you run into those roadblocks. And being that you are going to be redoing this, I was nice. I know very small, so when your next evaluator goes, you don't have to use another sheet. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to a really good speech about your really terrible bad day.
Now I'm confused. Is it the grammar or the grammarian?
I don't think the order matters.
The grammarian. Thank you. I got it. I had a cheat sheet even record backwards. So now I've said that. Please welcome Stacy, who will provide us with the grammarian report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. You did an excellent job today. We had almost no ums at all. Excellent work. Our first speaker did say, oh, I just said one no, so I have to put that on the note.
What did I say?
Our first speaker had a handful of sows, which I just did another off. Keep an eye on it. Our second speaker, again, no ums, few sows, two sows. Our topic master had a couple of sows, but no ums. Couple more ahs and ums. Following the following speeches. Word of the day, we used it 6 times, which I thought was excellent because it is a fairly abstruse word. I had a couple of phrases that I pulled out. One of my favorites was in our first speech that said, I wasn't sure I wanted to be in their club. It's very cute. And I liked the visualization of the mosquitoes like a flock of birds.
Wow. Tanya?
You want me to give it from here?
No, I think you should go down.
Yeah.
As your timer for today, I am happy to report that we only went over once, or only by 6 seconds. So, here are the times as we go. Tanya, 8:24. John Potter, 4:55. Deanna first, 1:36. Her second, 2:10. Melissa, 2:36. Chris, 2:30. Wow. John Potter, 1:58. Shelley H, 1:04. And then for the evaluation, Sarah, you were very close at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I forgot that, so 10 seconds over. And Chris Nibby, 3:05. Because I only started it when you started talking to John, not about the other stuff. Otherwise, it would have been in the 5s.
Thank you. Now the general evaluation of the meeting. We struggle with people canceling. But this is amazing. That's what our team does. They just step up and do what we need to get done. It amazed me the quality of the speakers for being impromptu, especially John. I mean, I saw this one even better than the prior one that you practiced. So I think you're becoming just a natural speaker. The quality of the table topics questions and the deliveries were just amazing. They were funny, they were very interesting, and the timing was really well done, and I'm sure Tanya was like,
No.
okay. As far as the evaluators, I always like when you provide the good and the bad, and in both occasions I heard the 2 evaluators provide really good pointers to enhance the speaker's skills. Overall, great meeting. I must say, our grammarian for the second time has given us a really great, very hard word. And amazingly, everybody else tried to use it really well. So, thank you all. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Is there any announcements that need to be made by leaders? Okay. Well, we shall, even despite starting a minute or 2 late, we shall end on time. Thank you all for being here. Have a great week.
We're getting used to your words, Stacy, so somebody
They're really good.
That was clock.
How's it going? It's great. No, I love your evaluation.
I really like